So what's 3 words used to describe yourself with? Hello old-timers and newcomers, I am KawScratches and this is a video that I've been dreading. I think traditionally people only make these kinds of videos once they reach a certain subscriber number. Right in that sweet spot between having enough people curious about who they are and making enough money to live in a gated community. Because, yeah, you want to be proud and open with who you are, but not when you still live among the plebs. Thankfully, no one gives a fuck about who I am yet, so I can talk about things that are actually interesting! Please love me. The reviewers I know have a lifelong appreciation for the genre they devote themselves to. Their opinions stem from a genuine place of love. And when they argue their opinions, they do so passionately because they only want what's best for the art form. It always makes me feel a bit awkward to admit that my origin was nowhere near as romantic. For most of my childhood, I didn't even know what found footage was. I think the first movie I watched was Cloverfield, and I found it weird more than anything. I mean, I kept waiting for the guy to put the camera down so the real movie could begin, and found it frustrating when he didn't. I didn't get it at the time. Why would you film a movie like shit? I asked myself. And I didn't understand why none of the characters were larger than life, and I was at an age where intelligent people points out how fake CGI looks, and I wanted to be intelligent. I didn't have any friends at the time, so acting wise beyond my years was all I had going for me. Still is. Later on I watched Paranormal Activity, and a movie hadn't scared me that bad since I was a kid. But it wasn't until my late teens my eyes were open to just how vibrant the found footage community really is. And it all began with a tall man in a dark suit. The rise of Slender Man was probably the first time I felt like I wasn't entirely alone. Not only was it a unique evolution in horror that transferred the dying art of campfire stories and myths to the digital age, blurring the line between fiction and reality, but it was as popular as cancer. It was everywhere! It was comics, creepypastas, music, short films, and of course, found footage format web shows. Tribe 12, Marble Hornets, Dark Harvest, and many more I can't even remember the names of, there were so many. And while a lot of people found it more annoying than frightening, I fell down hard on the side thinking it was the most amazing thing ever to grace my broadband. I was there, right up until the very end, when the myth was pronounced dead and Sony wrote its obituary. What made Slender Man so compelling was the ambiguity of his existence. If I were to tell you there lived a tall man in the forest who wears a suit, lacks a face, but can sprout tentacles from his back, you'd call me an idiot and go to the other side of the room. But the conviction which some people asserted he was a real creature was astounding. And asserting the creepypastas were eyewitness accounts, and coupled with just how encompassing he was, it maybe was enough to make you question just how impossible something you had never witnessed yourself truly is. With tragic results towards the end. There was a sense that he could manifest outside your window, or in the corner of your room, or maybe even at the head of your bed watching you as you slept. That is very difficult to describe to someone who wasn't there to experience it. And for all of that to come from a few photoshops, a vague backstory, and a few kids with a handheld and too much time on their hands, is bordering on a miracle. As I said, the Slender Man craze was the first time I felt the kind of magic that people talk about when it comes to football or Lord of the Rings. Like, not only did I have access to this truly unique and special phenomenon, but I shared it with a community of like-minded individuals who all loved it as much as I did. This is something no found footage movie has ever been able to recreate for me, but it did open the door. It made me re-examine my stance on found footage. It made me question, If something this special can come from a cheap web show, just what else might be out there? What I found was a bulging catalog of everything from lazy afternoons with a camcorder to multi-billion-dollar productions that all utilize the same reality-bending technique as the Slender Man mythos. And since then, I was hooked. It wasn't just the standard Slender Man set that kept me coming back to the genre. If that was it, I would have given up years ago. It was the feeling of uncovering a load of treasured minerals that no one else was even looking for. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The charm of found footage is the simplicity of it. It shows directors and dreamers that they don't need massive budgets or sound stages to create something to rival Hollywood. I know that's a lie. All the genre-defining found footage films have good or decent budgets, but it's still the illusion that inspires people to try. It's like watching a child grow. Unhampered potential and innocence to be dashed on the rocks of reality, all ye mice and men. But that's besides the point. What I'm getting at is this seeming simplicity of found footage inspired a slew of amateurs, hobbyists, students, and fans to try their hands at this no-budget phenomenon and produce a veritable ocean of films that hardly anyone talked about. I'd watch a new found footage movie once a week or every day, which, saying out loud, I realize isn't actually all that much, but this was a time when I still had standards. The reason I could do that is because so many of them were made by novices trying their hands at it. And that is beautiful. I'm late to the party, but I'm eager to get in. When everything about me was at its most fucked up, what I did, like many others, was seek comfort in the content on YouTube. I specifically watched anime, which then led to AMVs, which led to me getting into editing, which was a hobby that I maintained through most of my teens. And then, the single worst thing that could possibly happen to me at this point in time did. I got into a school where people were nice. There was no one screaming fag in my ear. There was no one waiting around my locker to make fun of me. There was no one slapping me and running away. People were nice. I did not know how to process not living under constant threat all the time. And about 20 years of trauma manifested all at once. I spent a lot of time drowning my cold shakes and nausea in the pixels of YouTube. And about at the same time I met the man who would become my mentor, Hatton Sladen. He is the one who introduced me to Doug Walker, and by extension the growing community of film critics on YouTube. It took me another 6 or so years before I attempted to review a film myself, because Walker really did set the standard at the time. And I did not dare ask anyone to be a co-actor because I was still afraid of people at the time. At the time. Then I found Decker Shadow, and he is the one who showed me, much like found footage, you didn't need production value to make an entertaining review, so it all came full circle. I even sort of looked like him, if he decided to eat the long-haired creepy guy. Should I get a makeover? Creatives inspiring creatives, to me, is probably the most endearing thing about the internet. And having become part of this community, it's probably the best decision I've ever made. I may be shy, but I have always approached art and entertainment the way a kid might approach others in the schoolyard, thinking, I want to play too. To be part of this small community of opinionated assholes sharing their love for movies with each other feels amazing, and I hope to do it for a very long time. The Slender Man is what got me interested in the genre, but it was just a gateway drug. It led me to here, where I now appreciate the genre at a different level than what I used to. It has grown from a rejection of cinematic quality to a respectable genre in its own right, full of artists that love to experiment and push the genre even further. Rob Savage, Michelle Nesk, Eric Myers, Adrian Toffey, and people I can't even remember, there's so many. Their movies are some of the most clever and striking examples of what found footage can be, other than a resounding fuck you to the overly polished Hollywood horror scene. Putting a camera in the hands of a character includes the audience in a way that most traditional cinema doesn't. But one can do more with that than just re-energize what would be tired jump scares. Savageland cleverly portrayed itself as a documentary investigating a grisly tragedy, to remind the audience of the dangers of mob mentality, assumptions, and corruption in journalism. Lunopolis and Butterfly Kisses are so cleverly directed, they make one question just how impossible the events caught on film are. And O Unilateralis was a scarring depiction of just how bleak reality is when it comes to assault. And Troll Hunter made fun of the entire damn thing! Portraying fiction as reality opens the door to a lot of things. Clever commentary, examining the grey area between facts and truth, propaganda, or just shallow entertainment. And there's probably more potential in the genre than I can imagine, but I hope to see writers and directors more clever than me explore it in the future. Found footage just makes sense in the digital ecosystem we have created, where everyone and their pets vlog, blog, and try to make their voices heard. Between personal testimonies, interpretations, and a wealth of knowledge so vast people can effortlessly pick and choose what to believe in, a genre that blurs the line between fiction and reality doesn't just feel natural, it feels necessary. Examining reality has always been part of the arts, no matter the form it took, and seeing what's done next with this format, that's what keeps me coming back to it again and again. But I also enjoy a good shallow time, and I don't mind it when directors don't reach for those heights. That, I think, covers just about everything. The nature of it, my backstory and motivation, I guess all I can do now is date the video a little bit. And thank each and every one of you who have stuck with me for this year and for this long. We are only 2 years into the 20s and it already feels like a decade's passed. But keeping this hobby of mine going for so long has been worthwhile, and I am so glad so many of you appreciate what I do on here. 2022 approaches, and all we can do is persevere and hope for the best, no matter how we have been struck down by the years that have passed. I know I'm gonna keep going after some time to realign myself, and I hope I can remain interesting for you once I do return. Thank you all for watching. I have been KawScratches, and I hope you will see me again next time to take another look at what I found.